Parker Schnabel's journey from a teenager sleeping on a friend's couch to the owner of a $15 million gold mining empire is one of the most remarkable success stories in modern reality television. Born into a family with deep roots in Alaskan gold mining, Parker's destiny seemed written from the moment he could walk. His grandfather, John Schnabel, was a legendary figure in the mining world, and from the age of 5, Parker was operating heavy machinery on the family's big nugget mine in Haines, Alaska. While most children were playing with toy trucks, Parker was learning how to handle reel loaders and dozers, a skill that would become the foundation of his empire. This early immersion shaped everything about his character. Growing up in a town of about 1,700 people, surrounded by unforgiving wilderness, taught him self-reliance and the value of hard work. The winters were long, the summers fleeting, and if something broke, you fix it yourself, a philosophy that would define his approach to life and business. When Parker was just 16, his grandfather's health began to decline, and the weight of the family business fell squarely on his young shoulders. This was a pivotal moment that accelerated his transition from a boy learning the trade to a man running an enterprise. Upon John Schnabel's passing at the age of 96 on March 18, 2016, Parker was fully in charge, but his grandfather's legacy of teaching by doing lived on. At 18, Parker made a decision that would shock his peers and family. Instead of going to college, he took his entire college fund, a sum of $663,000, and used it to invest in mining equipment. This was not a reckless gamble, but a calculated move. He had a vision and the skills to execute it, and he was willing to bet everything on himself. That investment expanded his operations, improved efficiency, and ultimately helped him mine more gold than ever before, setting the stage for his first major successes. The risk was immense, but Parker understood something that many people twice his age failed to grasp. In the mining business, you have to spend money to make money, and the equipment you invest in today determines the gold you pull out tomorrow. Parker Schnabel was only 16 when he stepped in front of the cameras for the first time, and the producers of Gold Rush weren't sure he was the right fit. They had their doubts about a teenager leading a mining crew, but then they saw him in action. Parker had grown up on the big nugget mine in Alaska, and his grandfather had taught him everything from the time he could walk. He wasn't just a kid with a famous last name. He knew how to handle equipment, could talk through strategy, and understood the risks involved in every decision. During his first audition, the crew watched him break down how to run a mine from top to bottom, with no script, no coaching, just raw knowledge that was more than most adults they'd seen. What really pushed things forward was how naturally he handled machines. At 16, he operated heavy equipment with steady hands, knowing exactly what each piece did, how to use it, when to switch it out, and what could go wrong. He wasn't guessing, he was working, and that kind of skill doesn't come from books, but from years in the dirt. When he first signed on, Parker negotiated a $25,000 per episode deal, a surprising number for someone so young. But he wasn't just filling screen time. He was leading real operations and making decisions that could cost or save millions. As the show grew and the audience followed his journey, Parker's value climbed fast, eventually reaching up to $100,000 per episode, which translated to about $2 million per season. Despite these numbers, Parker didn't start living like a celebrity. He didn't buy flashy cars or giant houses. Instead, he spent his money on the people around him, taking his crew on hunting trips and travel adventures. He once said he'd rather spend on memories than on stuff, a mindset that made him different from most reality TV personalities. The job wasn't easy. Filming each season took months, including planning, filming, and editing, which meant Parker spent most of his time on camera on site and under pressure while most teenagers were focused on school or sports. Parker Schnabel was still in his early 20s when he pulled off one of the most impressive gold hauls in modern mining history. It happened in the Klondike, a place known for brutal weather, hard ground, and gold that's never easy to find. During one season, Parker and his crew managed to dig up 1,029 ounces of gold, worth over $1.7 million at the time. For someone his age, it wasn't just a personal win, it changed how people saw him in the entire mining world. That haul didn't happen by chance. Parker had to plan every move, leading a full team, running wash plants, keeping machines working nonstop, and all of it under the tight clock of a short mining season. It was grueling, but he kept things running, and that kind of pressure breaks a lot of people. Parker made it look like he belonged there, and he didn't just survive, he dominated. What made the moment even more powerful was the timing. Most people his age were sitting in college lecture halls or trying to land their first job, while Parker was out in the cold pulling more than $1 million out of the ground. That 1,029-ounce haul wasn't just gold. It was proof that he understood the land, the risk, and the grind better than most people twice his age. By the time he turned 24, Parker had pulled over $13 million worth of gold out of the ground, a number that is rare for miners of any age. His path started at his grandfather's Big Nugget mine in Alaska, and by 18, he made the huge decision to take the money that was supposed to pay for college and use it to lease land from Tony Beats in the Klondike. That single move shaped his entire future. He started building his own team, running his own site, and learning everything about the job, geology, equipment, and leadership. He didn't spend his money the way most young millionaires might. No big houses, no sports cars. Instead, he poured it back into his operation, buying better equipment, expanding to new ground, and focusing on long-term growth. Every season, he tried to get better, and that focus is what kept him ahead of the competition. His approach to gold mining was methodical and data-driven, treating it not as a gamble, but as a science, analyzing soil composition, water flow patterns, and equipment efficiency to maximize every single ounce of recovery. Years later, Parker made a move that left even experienced miners stunned. He bought Dominion Creek for $15 million, and at the time, he was only 28. Dominion was known for having massive potential, with up to $200 million in gold still in the ground, but it also came with huge risks. To break even, Parker had to mine 10,000 ounces every season for 6 years, and missing that number would mean losing everything he poured into the deal. It didn't go smoothly. In the first 4 weeks, his team only managed to pull 135 ounces. Frozen ground slowed them down, equipment started breaking, and everything that could go wrong seemed to hit them at once. Parker didn't fold. He changed strategy, brought in better machines, and even spent $540,000 on new water pumps that could move 76 gallons a minute to help with gold recovery. Every step was a gamble, but he kept pushing forward. That Dominion deal said a lot about him. He wasn't chasing fast wins, but building something that could last. He saw past the short-term losses and trusted the long-term payoff, and most people would have backed off, but Parker went all in. The pressure didn't stop. By early 2025, the situation at Dominion Creek was rough, with numbers not coming in the way he'd hoped and costs stacking up. So, in February, right in the middle of the season, Parker made another move. He bought 2 more claims, Gold Run and Sulphur Creek, for $2.5 million. It was bold, risky, and it caught everyone off guard. These claims weren't random picks. They had history. Gold Run and Sulphur Creek had been mined for over 100 years, and even after all that time, they still held solid gold. Just 2 days into mining one of the cuts at Sulphur Creek, the crew pulled out 141.65 ounces, the kind of result they hadn't seen all season, and morale started to shift. This decision wasn't easy. Moving wash plants and machines across 25 miles of rugged terrain took serious effort, and the crew was split. Some thought it was brilliant, while others worried Parker was digging himself deeper into debt, but he stayed clear-headed. He said he'd already embraced the debt and was ready to face whatever came next, whether it was congratulations or regret. The purchase turned into one of the most dramatic moments of Gold Rush Season 15, showing Parker wasn't done taking risks, and that even when things looked like they were falling apart, he didn't back off but doubled down. Parker Schnabel was just 18 when he walked away from his family's Big Nugget mine in Alaska and headed for the Klondike. Instead of using his college fund to go to school, he used it to start a mining operation. The first person he turned to was Tony Beats, who was already a legend in the mining world. Parker needed ground to mine, and Tony had what he needed. They struck a deal, and it became Parker's first real move as an independent miner. But the deal came with a price. Tony saw that Parker was young and inexperienced and took full advantage. The royalty structure looked simple at first, 15% on the first 1,500 ounces, but every 1,500 ounces after that came with a 5% increase. By the time Parker hit 6,000 ounces, he was paying 25%. He didn't fully understand how bad the deal was until Season 8, when he had to stop mining right at 6,000 ounces just to avoid going broke. In Season 9, Parker made it clear how bad it had gotten, stating, "On 8,000 ounces, we give Tony Beats almost $2 million, and frankly, I'd go broke doing that." When Parker tried to renegotiate, Tony didn't budge, and that refusal pushed Parker to get creative. Parker came up with a plan to reset the royalty count. Every time his crew got close to the 1,500-ounce mark, they would switch wash plants, so Tony couldn't track the total in one straight line. It was a loophole, but it worked. Then came the moment that turned their quiet tension into an open war. In March 2017, during Season 8, Tony found out Parker had been moving dirt from another claim through Tony's ground to avoid higher royalty payments. Tony saw rock trucks sneaking through his yard and immediately shut everything down. He stormed into Parker's operation in front of the cameras and let loose, yelling about the contract violation. Parker didn't back down and called Tony out for being greedy, saying, "You'll get over $1 million this year. All you have to do is sit back and make money." When Tony said that wasn't enough, Parker snapped, "Then you can go yourself." That line turned their feud into one of the most explosive in gold rush history. Their relationship kept evolving even as the rivalry grew. Back in Season 4, Tony had acted like a mentor, but by 2025, he saw Parker as a full-blown threat. During the Season 13 premiere, Tony leased Parker a section of his Indian River claim, but only the part he didn't want. It was a small sign of respect, but it was also strategic. Tony never praised Parker directly. In public, he mocked Parker's approach, saying Parker was biting off more than he could chew after seeing him try to run 3 wash plants at once. He also criticized Parker's focus on short-term goals, saying it would cost him later, and he wasn't entirely wrong. By early 2025, Parker was $2.5 million in debt just 9 weeks into the season while trying to get Dominion Creek off the ground. But in private, Tony saw what Parker was doing. Industry insiders say he told his son Kevin that Parker's gold recovery rates were something to learn from, not laugh at. Even Tony knew the kid was good. The story of Parker Schnabel and Todd Hoffman isn't just a rivalry. It's a full-on clash of ambition, pride, and completely different views on how to run a gold mine. It started with a deal that should have been simple, but turned into something that shaped the future of Gold Rush. At the height of the show's drama, Parker bought a wash plant from Todd. The price was 700 grams of gold, worth around $46,000 at the time. Todd thought he'd pulled off a smart move by selling off what he believed was a useless piece of equipment, but Parker had other plans. He made it work, and that same wash plant became a key part of his gold operation. The success he pulled from that so-called junk was a slap in the face to Todd, who had underestimated Parker from the start. This moment didn't just sting, it widened the gap between them. Parker was rising while Todd was fading. Todd didn't stay quiet either. He accused Parker of being disrespectful, especially toward older workers. In interviews, Todd said it was hard to watch experienced crew members get dismissed by someone so young, painting Parker as arrogant and careless when it came to people who had been in the business much longer. This wasn't just a work issue, it became a generational conflict. Todd stood for tradition and experience, while Parker represented change and results. Their dynamic split the audience. Some backed Todd, believing in loyalty and respect, while others admired Parker's focus and ability to produce results no matter what. Things didn't stop at words. The tension between their crews exploded more than once, with fights actually breaking out on set. Full-on physical confrontations, not staged for drama, but real, occurred. At one point, a simple argument over mining yields escalated into a crew brawl. There were accusations of sabotage and screaming matches. It got so bad that the production team had to step in to keep things from completely falling apart. It wasn't just awkward to watch, it was damaging. Morale dropped, viewers noticed the growing tension, and people started to wonder if the show could keep going like this. By 2018, things reached a breaking point, and Todd Hoffman left the show. His departure wasn't just about business. His operation had been struggling for a while, profits were low, and Parker, on the other hand, was hitting record numbers season after season. The comparison was impossible to ignore. Todd was constantly being measured against Parker, and that pressure took its toll. In interviews after he left, Todd admitted that the toxic atmosphere played a big role in his decision and that reality TV was affecting his personal life and mental health. It wasn't worth it anymore. Even though he later returned with a new show, Hoffman Family Gold, his exit from Gold Rush marked the end of one of reality TV's most intense rivalries. While Parker Schnabel consistently downplays his wealth, his vehicle collection tells a slightly different story. His cars are where some of his wealth shows, and each vehicle serves a specific purpose in his rugged lifestyle. He owns a custom Ford Raptor with black and red detailing, a Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon built for rugged travel, a Jeep Wrangler for off-road trips, a modified Chevrolet Silverado, and several ATVs spread across his mining grounds. The Ford Raptor, with its high-performance off-road capabilities, is perfectly suited for the rough terrain of the Klondike, while the G-Wagon represents a touch of luxury that doesn't sacrifice functionality. These vehicles aren't just showpieces. They are essential tools for navigating the harsh conditions of his mining operations. The modified Chevrolet Silverado likely serves as a workhorse, hauling equipment and supplies across the rugged landscape. But even with all that, Parker insists he's not into flashy spending. "I don't really spend much money on physical possessions," he has said in interviews, preferring instead to invest in experiences and his business. His approach to vehicles is practical rather than ostentatious, choosing brands and models known for durability and reliability in extreme conditions. In addition to his vehicles, Parker's property holdings reflect his success. While he has claimed in interviews that he doesn't even own a house outside of his mine site, other reports suggest a different story. Some say he owns multiple properties, including a home in Haines, Alaska, and a house in the Yukon. One listing described his Alaskan home as a 2,000-square-foot property with 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. Another report claimed he bought his dream house for over $950,000. He's also believed to be one of the largest land owners in the Klondike region, a testament to his long-term vision for his mining empire. Unlike many young millionaires who splurge on mansions and luxury items, Parker's real estate investments are tied to his business operations, providing bases for his mining activities rather than serving as status symbols. His approach to wealth accumulation suggests a man who understands that in the mining business, assets that generate income are far more valuable than assets that simply display wealth. Where Parker Schnabel truly spends his money is on experiences both for himself and for his crew. Every year, he takes his team on trips, and they've gone hunting, done a 3-day Vegas run, and he once took his father to a World Series game. In 2023, he spent 3 weeks traveling through London, exploring the city, and taking a break from the relentless grind of the mining season. These trips serve multiple purposes. They build camaraderie among his crew, reward their hard work, and provide Parker with the human connections that he sometimes struggles to maintain during the intense mining seasons. In interviews, Parker has explained his philosophy on spending, saying, "I'm a big fan of really solid shared experiences, and that's probably where I spend the most money." This approach reveals a man who values memories over material possessions, understanding that the bonds forged during these shared adventures are what make the difficult work of mining worthwhile. He once told People magazine that explaining what he does can sound like he's from some dystopian insane world, but these experiences ground him and remind him of what truly matters. The hunting trips are particularly significant to Parker's lifestyle. Growing up in Alaska, hunting was not just a pastime, but a way of life, providing food and connection to the wilderness. These excursions with his crew continue that tradition, allowing him to share his upbringing with his team and demonstrate his appreciation for their hard work. The Vegas trips, on the other hand, provide a sharp contrast to the isolation of the Klondike, offering a taste of luxury and excitement that the mining life rarely provides. Parker's willingness to invest in these experiences for his crew speaks volumes about his leadership style. He understands that mining is a team effort, and his crew's loyalty is one of his greatest assets. In an industry where workers can be hard to find and keep, Parker's approach to rewarding his team has helped him maintain a stable, experienced workforce that is crucial to his success. Away from the mines, Parker Schnabel's personal life has been a subject of intense public interest. In 2016, while in Australia, he met Ashley Yule, a veterinary nurse who brought a bright energy that even the rough world of mining couldn't dim. Parker invited her to join him in the Klondike, and their relationship lasted 2 years. She wasn't just in the background. She worked in the gold room and helped the crew. Parker even said in a 2017 interview with Maxim that Ashley didn't get enough credit for how well that summer went. But even with all the success, their relationship didn't last. In the final episode of Season 8, after pulling in 8,400 ounces of gold worth over $10 million, Parker admitted something he rarely did. He called the breakup with Ashley one of his biggest failures, saying he didn't make her a priority and that she deserved better. Ashley never spoke publicly about it, quietly wiping any trace of Parker from her social media and returning to Australia. That silence only made Parker's regret stand out more, showing a vulnerable side to the man who seems so confident and unshakable on camera. A few months later, on August 13, 2018, fans noticed Parker posted a photo with Sheena Cowell, a British TV professional who worked with Knickerbocker Glory TV, a company involved in reality productions. The picture was personal, and people immediately started guessing whether this was his new girlfriend. The timing made it all more suspicious, coming just months after the breakup with Ashley, but neither of them confirmed anything. Sheena had industry experience, which seemed like a good fit for someone living such an unusual lifestyle. Parker had even told People magazine in 2024 that explaining what he does can sound like he's from some dystopian, insane world. Still, rumors cooled off by 2019 when it was reported that Sheena already had a boyfriend. Then came Tyler Mahoney. In 2020, during Season 4 of Gold Rush, Parker's Trail, Parker teamed up with the fourth-generation Aussie gold prospector. They were the same age, both had deep roots in gold mining, and the chemistry between them was immediate. Fans noticed, and social media lit up with theories. Viewers watched closely during each of the 9 episodes, looking for signs of a budding romance. The show itself didn't shy away from that idea, with editing highlighting their teamwork and shared passion. But if anything happened behind the scenes, it never made it to the screen. Unlike with Ashley, there was no captured kiss, no confirmation, just mutual respect and good TV. Parker later bought a claim in Australia, which made fans wonder if Tyler would remain a key part of his story. As of 2023 and 2024, there's still no official word, and the romance rumors haven't gone away, but neither of them has confirmed anything. What's clear is they work well together. Back in 2018, during the filming of Parker's Trail in Papua New Guinea, things got ugly between Parker and his cameraman, James Lavelle. At first, they worked well together, but creative tension built fast. On July 12th, things exploded when Lavelle insisted on filming a dangerous river crossing. Parker pushed back, but Lavelle kept rolling. What followed was a shouting match that went on for over 3 hours. Crew members could hear them yelling from over 100 meters away. By the end of it, Parker threatened to leave the entire project. Discovery executives had to step in. Just 3 days later, on July 15th, Lavelle was taken off the shoot, and by then, only 60% of the planned footage had been filmed. The production was thrown into chaos, and the changes cost Discovery about $380,000. The damage didn't stop there. On September 3rd, Lavelle filed a breach of contract lawsuit against Raw TV, the company behind the series. The case was settled out of court in February 2019, But Parker and Lavelle never spoke again. This incident revealed the immense pressure Parker faces, not just from mining, but from the demands of being a reality TV star, where his every move is scrutinized and conflicts can have serious legal and financial consequences. A few months later, Parker landed in the headlines again, this time for something far less dramatic. On March 17, 2019, at around 2:15 p.m., he was pulled over by Trooper Michael Ingram on the Haines Highway in Alaska. He had been driving his 2018 Ford F-150 at 64 miles per hour in a 55 miles per hour zone, just 9 miles over the limit. He was given a $60 ticket under citation number AK-1903275. Normally, this would have gone unnoticed, but Parker didn't respond to the ticket. On April 12th, the court issued a warning. He finally pled no contest on May 6th. TMZ picked up the story on May 12th, and it spread fast. One viral tweet joked that Parker could have paid the fine with pocket change from his gold pants. The fine wasn't the issue, it was the reaction. Some fans started to question how responsible he really was. This minor incident, blown up by the media, showed how Parker's celebrity status means even small mistakes become public spectacles. It also highlighted the contrast between his persona as a serious businessman and the reality that he is still a young man capable of making minor errors in judgment. Then came 2024. It was supposed to be just another season of Gold Rush, but instead, it nearly broke him. During the filming of season 15, Parker faced a series of disasters that pushed him right to the edge. On June 12th, there was a major equipment failure at the Dominion Creek claim. The loss in potential gold recovery was estimated at $2.3 million. Just days later, permitting issues forced a shutdown that lasted 17 days. That delay cost another $1.5 million in overhead and lost production. By August 3rd, Parker's cash reserves were down to $78,000, barely enough to fuel the operation for 1 week. In a last-ditch move, he pawned his 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air. The car had belonged to his late grandfather and was one of Parker's most prized possessions. He got $115,000 and used the money to cover payroll. This was a moment of profound vulnerability, revealing how close Parker came to losing everything he had worked so hard to build. His grandfather's car was not just a valuable asset, but a sentimental heirloom, and parting with it must have been devastating. Yet, Parker made the pragmatic choice, showing that when faced with the survival of his business and his crew, sentimentality had to take a back seat. The situation got so serious that on August 28th, he held an emergency meeting with his crew. He gave them the option to walk away with no penalty. 3 key team members stayed, including Mitch Blaschke. They worked without pay for 2 weeks to help Parker recover. This loyalty speaks volumes about the respect Parker has earned from his team. They didn't abandon him when things got tough. They doubled down, believing in his leadership and the eventual payoff. On September 7th, they finally struck a rich pay streak. 1,872 ounces of gold in 1 week, worth about $3.5 million. It saved the entire operation. Most of this was caught on camera, but only small moments made it into the show. The full story was considered too intense for air, suggesting that even the producers recognized the gravity of the situation and the potential liability of showing the true extent of Parker's financial distress. This harrowing experience demonstrated that behind the glamorous image of a reality TV star and wealthy miner is a man who faces the same existential threats that have plagued miners for centuries. The gold is never guaranteed, and even the best-laid plans can fall apart in an instant. Parker Schnabel's approach to his wealth is as notable as the wealth itself. Despite earning millions from his mining operations and television appearances, he remains remarkably grounded. In interviews, he has consistently stated that he doesn't consider himself wealthy in the traditional sense, primarily because so much of his money is tied up in his business operations. He reportedly earns around $100,000 per episode, which adds up to about $2 million per season. Yet, he lives with surprising restraint. He doesn't own a house outside of his mine site, and at one point he was crashing on a friend's couch in Los Angeles. His philosophy of spending on experiences rather than possessions is refreshing in an era of conspicuous consumption. "I don't really spend much money on physical possessions," he said, explaining that he would rather take his crew on trips and create shared memories than buy things that would eventually depreciate or become obsolete. This philosophy extends to his approach to business. Most of what he earns ends up back in his mining business, reinvested in equipment, land, and personnel. He treats his mining operation as a long-term investment rather than a short-term cash cow, understanding that sustainable wealth comes from building assets that generate income over time. His willingness to take calculated risks, such as buying Dominion Creek for $15 million, demonstrates a level of financial sophistication that belies his age. He also understands the importance of diversification, as evidenced by his acquisition of claims in Australia, spreading his risk across different geographical regions and regulatory environments. This is the approach of a seasoned investor, not a young man who simply got lucky with a reality TV show. Parker's success is a testament to the power of long-term thinking and the willingness to forego immediate gratification for future gain. One of the most impressive aspects of Parker Schnabel's success is his commitment to his crew. He pays his workers more than doctors make in a year, a fact that has been reported in various media outlets. This is not just generosity, it's a smart business decision. In the mining industry, experienced and reliable workers are hard to find, and retaining them requires competitive compensation. Parker understands that his crew is his most valuable asset, and he invests in them accordingly. The loyalty he received in 2024 when key team members worked without pay for 2 weeks is a direct result of this approach. They know that Parker has their backs, and when he needed them most, they return the favor. This mutual respect and loyalty is rare in any industry, but particularly in the high-stakes world of gold mining, where the temptation to chase short-term gains can undermine long-term relationships. Parker's commitment to his crew extends beyond their paychecks. He takes them on annual trips, including hunting excursions and 3-day Vegas runs. These experiences build camaraderie and create bonds that transcend the workplace. In many ways, Parker's crew is his family. They spend months together in isolated conditions, facing extreme weather and physical danger. The shared experiences forge connections that are difficult to replicate in a conventional 9-to-5 job. Parker's investment in these relationships is not just a perk, it's a strategic advantage that helps him maintain a stable, motivated workforce. In an industry where turnover is high and skilled labor is scarce, Parker's ability to retain his key employees is a significant competitive advantage that contributes directly to his bottom line. Looking ahead, Parker Schnabel's future is as bright as it is uncertain. His Dominion Creek investment represents a long-term commitment that could yield massive returns or result in significant losses. The acquisition of Gold Run and Sulphur Creek for $2.5 million in early 2025 shows that he is not content to rest on his laurels, but continues to expand his empire. His willingness to embrace debt, as he stated during the Season 15 drama, suggests a man who understands that in the mining business, you have to take risks to achieve outsized returns. He has also expressed concerns about the future of the mining industry, citing lack of clarity from the government and uncertainty in the permitting environment as significant threats to sustainability. These concerns are not just idle worries. They represent real challenges that could affect his operations and the industry as a whole. Despite these challenges, Parker's trajectory suggests continued success. He has demonstrated an ability to adapt to changing circumstances, whether it's dealing with frozen ground, equipment failures, or regulatory hurdles. His experience during the 2024 season, when he nearly went bankrupt before striking a rich pay streak, has likely made him more resilient and better prepared for future crises. He has also shown a willingness to explore opportunities outside of the Klondike, including his claim in Australia. This geographical diversification could insulate him from regional risks and provide new avenues for growth. Ultimately, Parker Schnabel's story is far from complete. At an age when most people are just beginning their careers, he has already built a mining empire worth tens of millions of dollars. His approach to wealth, his commitment to his crew, and his willingness to take calculated risks suggest that his best years may still be ahead of him. Whether he continues to dominate the gold mining industry or expands into other ventures, one thing is certain: Parker Schnabel has already secured his place as one of the most successful and interesting figures in modern reality television, and his journey is far from over. No discussion of Parker Schnabel's lifestyle and success would be complete without acknowledging the profound influence of his grandfather, John Schnabel. The elder Schnabel was a legend in the mining world, having worked the Big Nugget mine in Haines, Alaska, for decades. He was more than just a family member. He was a mentor and a guiding force in Parker's life. John's philosophy of teaching by doing shaped Parker's approach to mining and life in general. From the age of 5, Parker was in the driver's seat of real mining equipment, learning the skills that would become the foundation of his empire. John's belief in hands-on education was not just about teaching technical skills. It was about instilling a work ethic and a sense of responsibility that would serve Parker well throughout his life. When John passed away at the age of 96 on March 18, 2016, it was a devastating loss for Parker, but it also marked the beginning of his journey as the head of the family business. The legacy of John Schnabel is evident in every aspect of Parker's operations. The values of hard work, self-reliance, and respect for the land that John instilled in Parker continue to guide his decisions. Parker's commitment to his crew, his willingness to take calculated risks, and his long-term approach to business all reflect the lessons he learned from his grandfather. The fact that Parker was willing to pawn his 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air, a car that belonged to his late grandfather, to cover payroll during the 2024 crisis, demonstrates the depth of his connection to his family legacy. That car was not just a vehicle, it was a tangible link to his grandfather and the values he represented. By parting with it to save his business, Parker was honoring his grandfather's legacy in the most profound way possible, by ensuring that the family mining enterprise would continue. John Schnabel's influence will likely be felt for generations to come, not just through Parker, but through the many miners and viewers who have been inspired by the story of a young man who learned the value of hard work from his grandfather and built an empire on that foundation.